Hey everybody, welcome Star Flag Media Gaming. Take two. My name's Anthony, and I'm here with my co-host Chris.
Hey, what up? What up? What up, man?
What's up, Chris? Yeah, man, we're gonna get right into the news this week, man. There's something that's happening right now. Actually, today just happened, and that's Electronic Arts, man. Electronic Arts has some big shakeups, big shakeups, especially for Bioware, their studio. We know EA isn't shy of shutting down studios that aren't successful, man. And BioWare seems to be in trouble. BioWare is hit with about 100 staffers laid off.
Yeah, that's all.
And all we gotta say is, and everybody out there has been tiptoeing around why. Oh, well, Dragon Age didn't sell as well as they hoped for. We just looked at the numbers before we got on here, and EA said 1.5 million players are engaged with the new Dragon Age game, and they were expecting at least 3 million.
Yep.
So 1.5 million players engaged, Chris. That's not sales.
No, it's not. It sounds like they were in a boardroom talking to investors, and they had to come up with a fancy way of saying that it underperformed, and
What's the best case scenario?
the best case scenario was probably all right. Instead of saying 900,000 of 3 million, they probably said, well, we got 1.5 million players.
Yeah, engaged across the systems and PC. Like, okay,
Yeah,
yeah, well,
sounds better.
and it does sound better, but it still is half of what they needed, at least half.
If it
Um,
was if it was 3 million units sold, they would have said 3 million units sold. They wanted to say 33.5 million players.
oh yeah, no, absolutely not. They would have given you if trust me, if the game would have sold well, we would have heard about those sales numbers,
Yeah.
right? Um, and it looks like what's going on is they're trying to save jobs, and they're moving some producers and staffers from BioWare to other studios within EA. And now they're looking at those positions and going, it's the same position that we've already got over on this studio. So they're just laying people off outright. Listen, the elephant in the
So
room. Yeah, go on.
no, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
The elephant in the room of why. This game was super woke. There's a 10-minute dialogue, a whole branch of why this character is non-binary and doesn't associate with anything and isn't gender specific. And if you misgender the character in the game, they have a chastising branch of, oh, you got to do a push-up because now I have to show you I'm sorry, because it's not enough for me to say I'm sorry, because now I'm making it about me and not about you. Like, literally hitting you over the head with this
Yep,
bull crap. Like, just killing you. Anyway,
yep.
so gamers are the last bastion, bro. We're the last frontier of entertainment going completely woke. And the difference between us and Hollywood is Hollywood might have a flop on their hands, but they tend to write those off in taxes and other ways of getting around it, but they still got their message out there because it's out. With Dragon Age, it's like, well, we just don't buy the game. We
Yeah,
just don't buy the game. And then the entire studio is gone.
yep.
They
Entire
got,
studio entire studio's gone. And then so not only did they fail, but they also failed by, instead of just ripping the band-aid off and saying we fucked up, excuse my language, we messed
yeah,
up, we screwed
we're going to
up.
correct. We're going to correct our
We're
ways.
Yeah, let's patch up the holes. They said no, we could still save this boat. And then they tried to save jobs because they care about everyone. And then just to reach the same verdict at the end, that they got to lay people off. It's
And
just took them more steps. And so I don't think they learned their lesson.
no, but they're gonna, because they've got one more try, and that's Mass Effect. And if they push any agendas into Mass Effect, it's a wrap for BioWare, which is a shame because BioWare literally made some of my favorite games in the last 20 years. Down from like Knights of the Old Republic on the original Xbox all the way up to like Mass Effect 3. You know, like they legit make great RPGs. And the first 2 Dragon Age were amazing games. And those sold extremely well. So this is what happens. This is what happens when you try to take something that's extremely popular. You want to cater to a niche audience. Go make yourself a niche indie game, low budget or double A, and throw it out at that audience and see if they buy it. But if you're trying to mass market a game, then you're gonna have to make it for the mass market. You're gonna have to know your base. Know your base. Well,
I agree. Just create something new. Create a new story to do all that binary, all that type of stuff in it. Don't take
make an indie game and see if there's a community for it. Yeah, if they want it, they'll buy it.
Yeah.
Let me tell you right now, those 1.5 million players, I bet you at least half of those players didn't know what they were jumping into or what kind of agenda was in it. A lot of people just don't read gaming news. They just say, "Oh, Dragon Age, a new one. I love Dragon Age. Let me buy it." And then they get hit with that. And I think Electronic Arts thought, or BioWare at the very least thought, that the majority of their audience was like that. Not in this case. This is go get woke, go broke. So so EA is hopefully going to be taking notes. Since 2023, BioWare's lost 200 people in their staff. So this isn't looking good for one of my old school favorite developers, man. It's the end of that. You hit me with some news today that also Spiderman 2 got a PC port, and it wasn't that hot of a port.
Yeah. They're saying that it's on the terms or the likeness of like The Last of Us, but just not as bad as The Last of Us. I know you mentioned there's probably some sour grapes.
A lot of it is probably PC gamers being PC gamers and like, oh, it doesn't hit 100 frames. But I do got a Eurogamer article saying that it's full of, quote, crashes, bugs, and poor optimization. So if the game's crashing, that's a whole different thing. That just means that either A, you screwed up your code somehow, porting this game over, or you gotta maybe bump up those minimum specs for some other cards. If they can't run the game, they can't run the game.
Yeah. And
so we got
it's a first party title from Sony. It could damn near be one of their flagships. So I kind of think that like that's kind of stupid. Like, I mean, no one ran it, nobody ran it. But if they did run it, are they playing it on the supercomputer? And it was like, yeah, this works good. So
we're doing the latest
the
development kit.
Yeah, and but it was also their fastest PS5 game to port to PC. So maybe they needed more time in the oven. I don't know.
Yeah. So here we got a quote from some of the players on there. It says, unfortunately, the launch is pretty bad. Crashes every 20 minutes or so if you have turned on the frame generation, which, guess what, is turned on by default. Has stuttering here and there. The hair on the models look awful. Oh, and the biggest issue I had was that I tried to delete my saves so I can start a new game, and you can't do that until you get rid of the old one. And I couldn't do that. It seems it wasn't working. I had to disable Steam Cloud manually, delete the save, and then it worked. Big oof. Other than that, I haven't had any problems. Other than that, listen, if I bought a game and it crashed every 20 minutes, I don't know if I'm going to keep trying to run that game or continue to give it a chance. I don't know. I don't know, man. Sony, they're porting games over now, and as we know, which brings us like to the next kind of piece of news, I guess, that happened over this week was the new PlayStation CEO. We're talking about CEOs and how Western developers are different from Eastern developers, and And we all know how Jim Ryan and good old Herman were big fans of those live service games that ended up getting canceled. I
Yep.
think it's exactly what you were saying. Sony took a look at the bigger picture and said, "What the hell are we doing?"
Yep. I
And they
think they caught. I'm glad. So I think for the majority, I think a lot of people were glad that they canceled those games because it was going to be hit or miss.
Yeah, it was a roll of the dice for sure.
Yeah, it was a roll of the dice. And then I think Herman was the dude. He was saying, "No, we're still going to keep this going and
Double down.
lightning in the bottle or whatever you want to call it." But yeah, man, I they got an Eastern CEO. They're gonna do what they do best, and it's probably gonna be more first party single player games that they could just make a boatload of cash off that they're gonna port to PC and just rake it in. Like you can't fix what ain't broke.
Absolutely. And with the ports that we're seeing more and more of, I don't know if you saw the last video that I put on there, but they pulled up a quote from Hiroki Totoki, which is the new CEO, and he was talking about the PlayStation console for first-party titles being multi-platform going forwards. So it looks like they're 5 years behind Microsoft in their strategy.
I'm still gonna say maybe. Maybe, well, right? Maybe, but
I'm gonna take Hiroki Totoki's word. He's the guy in charge. Yeah, and he's not just the president of PlayStation. He's the president of Sony now. He's the Sony CEO.
Yeah. He said multi-platform like PC. Yeah, maybe.
Like computers. Yep. So the full quote is, in the past, we wanted to popularize consoles and first-party titles. The main purpose was to make the console popular. It is true, but there is a synergy to it. So if you have strong first-party content, not only with our console, but also other platforms like computers, first-party can be grown with multi-platforms and then can help operating profits to improve. So that is another one we want to proactively work on. I personally think there are opportunities out there for improvement of margins, so I would like to go aggressive in improving our margin performance. And this goes back to what we've said 7 or 8 months now. Sony, Nintendo, and Microsoft are here for the shareholders. So if you go too loyal to your brand of choice, they're going to let you know that unless you're a stockholder, they're here to make those stocks and margins grow. And yeah, so one of the things that was big in December's sales on PlayStation was that Microsoft, through their third-party publishing now, had 74% of the revenue on PlayStation. All of their software sales, 74% of it was Microsoft.
Yep. And I'm sure Satya Nadella said, looked at those numbers.
It was raging. Yeah.
Yep. He looked at the numbers, and I bet you the light bulb went over his head, and then it turned to a dollar sign. And I'm pretty sure.
But you don't think that Mr. Totoki here did the same?
Well.
Oh, wait. These MFers are making 74% of the revenue on our system and on their console and on PC and on Nintendo. So now they're looking at that's how much they're making on our console alone. What are they doing across the board? Yeah, they're looking at margins at this point. How can they expand their business?
Yeah, and I see that. I could see them going to the mobile phone route, like how Nintendo did with the Mario Kart game, the Mario Jump game. I could see PC, but I don't know what the PlayStation numbers. I don't know what game sold crazy high or crazy good on PC for PlayStation.
Yeah, well, that's neither here nor there. That's probably, even if it sold a fraction or of what they sold on PlayStation, it would have. That's numbers that they wouldn't have had otherwise.
Yeah, but it's more money that you got.
It's new platform. No,
Yeah, it's more money you got to put into a new platform and get it over, get it right. Because Spider-Man 2 apparently wasn't ported right.
I think Spider-Man 2 will still sell a couple million, and that's another game that, even a couple million with it being as old as it is, that's good numbers.
Yeah, it came out, what, 14 months ago, I believe?
Mm-hmm. So a game that pretty much, if you had a PlayStation at this point, you probably played it. Anybody that had a PS5 probably played it.
It was a great...
yeah, critically, again, so anybody that's jumping into the game a year and a half later, almost a year and a half later, it's a new market. So I think I'm going to take Sony's president's word, and they are going to go multi-platform slowly but surely. And we've seen it with MLB The Show, even though that was MLB forcing their hand, but also the first game that we see that's a first-party IP was that Horizon Lego game, and that's on Switch now. And that's how it works. It starts little by little, and you see one little trickled out game like Minecraft made by that's just one game, and next thing you know, PC is your buddy, and that's just how it works. They're 5 years behind.
Maybe.
It's copium otherwise, because that's how Xbox players sounded 5 years ago.
So no. I'm not. What I'm saying, maybe to that. Maybe you're right. Maybe you're wrong. What I was thinking was, this is the first time that I believe they got that Activision money from Call of Duty.
Oh yeah. This is the big one. This is the first one under their umbrella that they really took.
The majority of Call of Duties is sold on PlayStation. Then you got, so that Call of Duty did numbers for their Game Pass. This was probably the best-selling Call of Duty, because last year didn't sell well. It was just a glorified DLC, even though, in my opinion, as a COD fan, I think it sold well too. Modern Warfare 3 was a really good game, even though they just had the Modern Warfare 2 maps. But yeah, I mean, Microsoft, they had some numbers with the Black Ops 6, and this was
Modern Warfare 3 did big numbers. It set the record for the most sales in 5 days.
Modern Warfare 2020.
Yeah, 2023. The game established an all-new 5-day worldwide sell-through record of more than 775 million, exceeding the record of 650 million set a year ago. Yeah, no, it's a juggernaut.
Wow.
It's a juggernaut.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was the Sledgehammer game that nobody had faith in.
And it's still sold.
But to be fair, it was a remake of Modern Warfare 2 maps.
Right.
So it's up there. I don't know.
It is what it is. But yeah, I mean, it's a juggernaut, and boy, what a big one to have under your repertoire if you're Microsoft right now. That's a good one. But yeah, either way, shakeups are happening across the industry. New CEO Herman's gone. Sony's on a new vision, a new track, and I think that they're going to be looking at all possibilities of expanding their audience. I'm gonna tell you one thing: they're not fucking stupid, and they're not gonna just stand back and watch another company surpass them. They're not gonna do that. And if that means that the future is gonna be Game Pass, I guarantee you, in the next 5 years, we're gonna be seeing Play Pass. I trademark it, somebody. No. Trademark it. Play Pass is coming.
They already got a network.
That's
online service.
It's not the same. It's not the same.
They don't need day and date.
They need it.
They don't need a rental service because they're doing well already selling their games.
They're going to not want you to own it. They don't want you to own anything.
Well, we don't own it now.
They don't want you to have anything. They're going to be able to just pull stuff off of their streaming service like Netflix pulls movies. That's what they want to do. They're going to have a license for it, and it's just going to go away. And you're going to be sitting there with your monthly subscription if you want to play video games. That's the future. It's going to suck, but that's the future.
Maybe.
I mean, you can go right now. Let's go to Best Buy and buy a Blu-ray.
Well,
And Blu-rays are done. Sony themselves they're ending production on Blu-rays.
no,
They're selling you.
they ended production on their rewritable disc.
Yeah,
Rewritable, yeah,
it's a huge
rewritable.
market. It was a huge market, and now it's dead, gone. Physical media is gone. They're selling you PS5 Pros without the disc drive.
Optional.
Well, it used to be where you could buy a PS5 with the disc drive, and the optional one was without. And people
Yep.
chose and now they're just like, no, no, no. Buy it separately.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
No,
that's crazy. That's crazy.
I'm not-
Physical is going away.
No, I'm not disagreeing that physical is going away. Physical is definitely going away. But a rental service, I don't think that's
a streaming service. They don't even call it rentals because
you know,
a rental
service. I don't think that's. I mean, they might have a streaming service, but like Game Pass is what, a rental service.
it's a streaming service.
It's like a hybrid of the two.
It's like Netflix. No, you don't rent games and they're gone 2 days, 3 days later.
If you don't pay your bill, you don't get access to your library anymore.
It's like Netflix.
Okay, all right, yeah. It's like Netflix. Yeah. I think their model of PSN is PlayStation Plus with the tiers, and what you get is fine. It works enough. I'm pretty sure that
I just don't see them missing out on the streaming services, man. Sony is just Sony, and you
they already have a service. What I'm saying,
they don't have a streaming service. They don't have an equivalent.
You could stream your PS3 games through their service now.
It's not an equivalent. You're paying your PSN Plus tier. It's your PSN Plus right now is closer to Amazon Prime. It's not the same. They I'm telling you, and Amazon Prime is not. It ain't Netflix. It ain't even Hulu. It's just part of the service that you get when you have Prime. It's like it's there, but nobody uses that shit. They're gonna. Sony is heartless. They're another heartless corporation, and they're gonna do the same thing as Microsoft.
Okay, so I'm not disagreeing with that. So now my question is, do you think Game Pass incentivize gamers to not buy their games? Do you think
I think if
do you correlate them not buying games led to Microsoft wanting to put their games on other platforms because people weren't buying them?
So like, I think
you mentioned the show earlier. MLB The Show made an announcement saying it's not going to Game Pass this year.
Yeah, that's fine. Not every game is going to be on there until they have to be. Because they don't have to be yet. Nope, not every movie was on Netflix at the beginning either. That's the nature of it until it grows to the point where it's going to be you're going to have 3 big streaming services. It's going to be Netflix, Hulu, and Disney Plus, and then there's going to be Electronic Arts is going to make their own version, and Sega's going to bring back the Sega Channel, and then all the publishers are going to act like all the movie studios, where now Paramount Plus has one, and Warner Brothers has one, and Max. It's going to be the same bullshit. They're on this. Unfortunately, on this end, the video game industry is about 15 years behind what the movie industry is doing as far as distribution of content. They're going to do the same thing that the movie industry is doing when it comes to distributing that, when it comes to movies. It's a sad writing on the wall that I see, unfortunately, when it comes to content. They never wanted us to own. Physical media only existed because that was the only way they can get a movie into your hands and resell you the movie that you watched in the theater. That's the only reason VHS tapes and all that shit. But once the internet came in and everybody has high-speed internet, they don't want you to own anything anymore. Hell, that's why all the banks are buying houses. They don't want you to own a house. If they could stream you a house, they'd do it. If they could stream you a house, they'd do it. They call it rent. But anyway, we digress. Speaking of bringing stuff across platforms, we had another announcement today. So this is really on topic for us, and that's that Forza Horizon, a huge Xbox staple, one of their big franchises, is coming to PlayStation 5. And boy, oh boy, were the Xbox just copium city. There's a lot of copium going around this week on all ends. But Xbox Forza Horizon, I would argue that it's probably in the three pillars of Microsoft gaming. It probably would be Gears of War, Halo,
Halo, Forza.
Forza. So now we're seeing Forza, which is one of the big three for Microsoft. And Horizon 5 is one of the best games in the series. It's getting ported over by Panic Button, which is known for bringing a lot of these impossible ports out to the Switch. So they're a good developer. And apparently, they're going to be making like a pro enhanced version of this game. So maybe we'll see a pro enhanced version of Forza coming out.
Why?
What do you think? What do you think of that? That big? That's a big franchise.
Yeah, it's a big franchise, and listen, I want a good racing game, but I don't want a race sim. So Forza isn't for me. And I wonder.
I think you like Horizon then, because this is not.
It's arcadey?
This is yeah. It's a little bit more arcadey. It's kind of an in between. This isn't like the Gran Turismo or the Forzas of years past.
Yeah.
This is the Horizon series in Forza. So it's still realistic, but it's more arcadey feeling. This was the largest. Let's see exactly how they put it here, because I don't want to mess this up. It was the biggest ever launch for an Xbox Game Studios game.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It's over 10 million players logging in the first week. And soon, PlayStation gamers will be able to experience it. I think it's great. I think for two reasons. One, I don't give a shit what this game comes out on. I also see this game coming to Switch too, by the way. It just doesn't seem like it'd be pushing anything that crazy where it couldn't run on it. But the real reason is because I want Sony to bring out more Gran Turismo games, not more than once every 6 or 7 years. Gran Turismo is a great franchise and a huge seller, and Polyphony Digital only makes that one game that I know of. Maybe correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but Polyphony Digital sits on their ass for 7 years and puts out one Gran Turismo. And then if you're a PlayStation gamer and you like these type of games, you really are sitting there watching the Xbox players get a Horizon game every 2 years, a Forza game, and you're like, holy shit, I kind of want to play that.
Might bring back competition. Mm-hmm. And there was, I think on the PS1 or the PS2, there was like three Gran Turismo games that launched on that console.
And PS1 had 3 Gran Turismo games.
Yeah, so PS1. Yeah. I want a good racing game that is not too realistic, not a sim, not arcadey. Depending on what the price is, I may give it a try. So here goes the pony argument, right? I'm not saying I'm a pony, but like, I wonder what the pony people who just swear by Gran Turismo,
what their reaction is going to be.
They're going to buy it and try it, and what they're going to say.
Or they're going to be like, oh, it's trash. It's new. Gran Turismo is so much better, as they've been doing for all these years.
Mm-hmm.
Or are they going to be like, oh, well, now that it's on our system,
let me buy
now,
it.
Oh, you know what? It's actually not bad on PlayStation.
Yeah, like so I already mentioned offline a couple games that I'm interested in buying, which would make my quota for 2 to 3 games a year. Mm-hmm. But depending on when it comes out and how much it sells for, am I going to pay $70 for a game that came out last year or 2 years ago? Probably not.
Yeah.
If they go it for $50, maybe it might be a little bit more of a comfort zone for me to give it a try, a brand new IP, and I'm saying but yeah, that's my thoughts.
Yeah, so that brings the total games so far announced for PlayStation that were not just announced, but have already come out. But Sea of Thieves came out, Hi-Fi Rush, Indiana Jones is coming, Doom is coming, and now we got Forza And that's not all. You know, there's rumors that Hellblade 2 is making its way over, Age of Mythology, and the Gears of War Ultimate Edition. And we know that Starfield is not off the table, according to Phil Spencer. So we're looking at all these games, and the Starfield is rumored to be on Switch 2 as well. So here we got these games that
we haven't got a chance. I just wanted to say, did you see Destin's face when he asked Phil with that little smile? Now, I analyzed that clip multiple times. So my first thought was, yo, that little smug smile, it's like he just learned that Hulk Hogan takes steroids and
Santa Claus isn't real.
It wasn't prayers and vitamins, right? So that was my
believed in.
And then I watched it again and I was like, you know what?
Because some people need to hear it straight from the horse's mouth.
Yeah, I think he already knew the answer. And
yeah, when we and this comes down to like what we were talking about when we played the clip of Satya Nadella on my channel, and we see all the comments that come in, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we see everybody going, that's not what he said, and you're literally hearing the dude say it. Because at first, I posted a video just quoting the guy.
Yep.
But people can interpret these quotes however they want. And you can put a spin to it. Oh, well, he didn't quite say this and he didn't quite say that. But in this interview, he straight up, he asks.
He heard the question. He got annoyed. He got like, I felt like when my son asked me, can I get McDonald's after he refused to eat 20 minutes ago?
Right.
And the answer is no. No.
Right, because if I just quote it no, or I'm not taking anything off the table and I just put that quote out there, but when you see Phil's body language, it's so important. It's so important to see body language because you get the full context of there's no you may have misinterpreted what you got in a transcript, but there's no misinterpreting that annoying like, oh my God, they're not asking me about fucking Starfield again.
Yeah.
And so here's your answer. No. Because my boss told me I can't say. I'm in the loop now, and now we know that nothing is off the table. Nothing is off the table.
So shout out to Destin for putting his, he used to work at, but for putting on his journal hat and getting that reaction because he already knew the answer, but just how he phrased it. To get that answer and that reaction, that was art. So I give him that. He
got so many clicks off of those. This interview was huge for him.
Yeah,
it was huge for him. And Gamertag Radio, like I didn't even know that was still a thing. Like I used to listen to Gamertag Radio when I first got an iPod. Man, we're talking about years ago when iPod was a thing. And yeah, man. So it's like good for them. But there's no denying it now, guys. If you were out there and you were thinking that Microsoft is not going to push whatever they want to third parties, well, we got your answer for you. And unfortunately, it looks like more and more companies are taking note of what's going on in the industry and these shifts. And that's one way for them to maximize their profitability to their shareholders. They're not here for us, guys. They're here or the stockholders. Anyway, don't want to end it on such a down note or anything, but that's the reality of it. Nothing. There's a quick rumor of a February Nintendo Direct coming up this next couple of weeks. In the next couple of weeks, I don't expect anything major for Switch 2 to be in the Nintendo Direct, but we're gonna see the
Direct probably for Pokemon. What day is Pokemon Day?
Well, we know that we know, well, this is what I wanted to take away from this, is like we know the Switch 1 games are compatible with Switch 2. So they're going to show off what we have left in the year for Switch 1 games. We're probably going to see another small clip of like Metroid Prime, maybe something like that. And then they're going to mention Pokemon as their last big hurrah for Switch 1 games. And if we get like a 10-second sizzle reel for Switch 2 to kind of keep people's attention, maybe. But I bet you, I would not be shocked if they start off with a please understand that this is not going to be a Switch 2 Nintendo Direct. they're gonna straight up tell us. All right. So
Yeah. I know
anyway,
Pokemon Day is in February, so I'm good with that. So
yeah, so they're not gonna lose any customers by making Switch 1 games that we all know will run on Switch 2. So yeah.
so before we sign off, I got a 2-minute rant.
Okay.
Xbox started off as a passion project from like what 4 to 6 employees working at Microsoft DirectX, and it morphed and became the original Xbox. And then how could they improve upon that and make it better, make it right? Then we got the Xbox 360, right? And then when the red ring of death started happening, that's when Microsoft maybe looked at the money and said, "Oh, your passion project? Yeah, let daddy take it." And Microsoft put their hands on it, added Connect, made it black, and said, "Here you go." And then the Xbox One, we got the Connect had to be, purchased with it. And they were selling your BMI information to ad companies, to Coca-Cola. They were selling the information when your heart rate was rising. When you see a McDonald's, yeah. And Microsoft put their hands all on it and gave us the Xbox One, Xbox One S, or whatever you want to call it. And then it was downhill from there. And what started out as a passion, you could kind of shower thoughts, 2-minute rant. I remember the excitement for Xbox and the passion it had with the games that they were delivering. And now I can also look back and I could pinpoint when the passion died. And it was not the 3 rings of death, but the counter to the 3 rings of death with the Connect, with that new sleek black system. That was Daddy Microsoft getting in there and said, "All right, we got this."
So I see a lot of parallels between Microsoft and Sega in more than one way. Sega had essentially 4 consoles with the Master System, the Genesis, the Saturn, and the Dreamcast. And then they gracefully bowed out and made it their own thing. They started doing their own thing and became a third-party publisher because there was really nothing else it could be back then.
Yeah.
Sega Master System was a hit, but not more popular than the NES. And we could say the same thing about the original Xbox. Was a hit, but not more popular than the PS2. The Xbox 360 was the absolute pinnacle success for Microsoft, the highest that they've ever been as far as success. And you could say the same thing about Sega's Genesis, which was their second console.
Yeah.
Pinnacle, greatest success. Didn't quite beat the Super Nintendo. And same thing with the 360. They just couldn't get past the PS3 by a little margin and the Wii by a big margin. But it was their pinnacle. The Xbox One, to me, was their epic fail. They wanted to make it always online. All the online DRM crap they were trying to push at the time.
So they could sell to those advertisers.
Absolutely. And they also wanted to avoid piracy, but really it was their way of trying to control you reselling these used games. But their third console was their big flop, in my opinion. Even though it sold relatively well, to not be considered a flop. And then Sega did the same thing with their third console. They rushed it out and they tried to beat PlayStation to the punch. A lot of missteps, and the Saturn was a fail. I mean, again, it sold enough, but it wasn't what they needed. And then finally the Dreamcast, and we're in the Dreamcast phase of the Xbox. Series X is just not what Microsoft needed it to be. Series S and X. And so now they're looking to gracefully do something else in the market. Third party isn't just their only option anymore, but if it was, I bet you they would go that route. But since we have so much access to high-speed internet and every home has high-speed internet, they have other options now. But
I like your Sega analogy.
And they're always gonna have their
Dreamcast had bangers. They had bangers when it launched.
No, we're gonna look back on the Series X games. The problem is that Series X games, this is something, again, it's so much like Dreamcast, and I'll compare it even more to Dreamcast. When Dreamcast finally call it quits, right? When Sega said, okay, we're gonna still support the Dreamcast, but Sega GT 2002 will also come out on Xbox. Jet Set Radio Future 2 comes out on Xbox as well. Shenmue 2 is out on Dreamcast, but you can also get it on Xbox. It's like, okay. oh my god. So yeah, these are all bangers, but they're all Sonic Adventure, now available on GameCube. It's exactly the same, guys. Okay. Yeah, so yeah, Series X has some bangers, but you can now buy it on your PlayStation or on Steam. And yeah, they're bangers. Forza Horizon 5 was an absolute banger, available on PlayStation 5. So yeah, they are. I love my Dreamcast. It's my favorite console of all time. But it is what it is. They bowed out because they had to. And it saves their company. Not only that, and you know, Microsoft they're allowed to bleed money, but they don't like to bleed money. They have investors that they are accountable to. Yeah, that was a good rant. I agree. I agree with like 99% of all of that. Yeah, there's nothing to be said other than Microsoft is looking at their bottom line, and that's it. They're tired of bleeding money. And consoles are expensive. Console parts are expensive. They are loss leaders for everybody. And I believe the Switch 2 is going to be a loss leader for Nintendo. I think that the chipset costs more to make. Well, we don't know what the price is yet. But if it's $499, then they might be breaking even on these consoles. But if it's anything under $499, they're probably going to be losing money on every Switch 2 sold, which is unlike Nintendo. Anyway, I want to thank you guys for joining us this week here at Starflight Media Gaming. As always, want to keep us getting subscriptions. So like, share, subscribe. We're around 3,500 subscribers. Want to get to maybe four? Let's hit 4,000 by the end of the year. That'd be ideal.
Yeah, we get 4,000 subscribers. You could tell us what you want us to drink, and we'll drink it. Idiots for you all for the show.
Yeah, leave a comment below. Tell Chris why he's right and why I'm wrong, or vice versa. Let us know what your opinion is on it. And as always, want to thank you guys. Check out the latest video. I got the GameCube buyer guide for any retro fans out there, and we will catch you guys on the next video.